Greetings, it's Ian from RTO. Welcome to the Sophomore Drome. 2 albums go in, one will only survive. Now, who will it be today? So today we've got a bit of a synth pop and another Sheffield battle. 2 bands from Sheffield. One being Heaven 17 and the other being ABC. So Heaven 17 were formed in 1980. They were a trio composed of founding members of the Human League, Martin Ware and Ian Craig, and they were joined by vocalist Glenn Gregory. Now their second album came out in 1983 and it's called The Luxury Gap, and it is the band's best-selling studio album. So you've got Glenn Gregory lead vocals and backing vocals, Martin Ware synthesizer and programming, Ian Craig Marsh synthesizers and programming. We've got additional musicians on here. We've got Nick Platus on grand piano, Greg Ross acoustic piano and synthesizers, John Wilson guitars and guitar synthesizer, same with Ray Wilson, Simon Phillips on drums and percussion, he gets everywhere, Don Merrick saxophones, Louis Satterfield even trombone, Michael Harris trumpet, and Ramil Michael Davis trumpet, Sarah Gregory screams, and Carol Kenyon backing vocals. First track on here is called Crushed by the Wheels of Industry. Now you can tell that Ian and Martin had come from Human League, because it's got a lot of that early Human League sound to it, and even Glenn Gregory sounds a little bit like Phil Oakey on that. Who Will Stop the Rain? Interesting track. The drum machine is really programmed well. It sounds straight out of this period in time. It's pretty solid for a new wave poppy synth sound. Let Me Go, great vocal from Glenn Gregory on that. You can't deny he was a great singer. Not too bad. Key of the World, yeah, this one's okay. Then we got side 2, and it opens up with the big hit Temptation, backing vocals by Carol. It's a classic 80s track. Come and Live With Me is next, another big hit. It's probably the best song on here. It's a great vocal from Glenn on that one. Lady Ice and Mixed Mr. Hex. Got Mr. Phillips drumming on this. Yes, you can tell it's Simon Phillips. We Live So Fast. Again, it sounds very dated now, but it was the sound at the time. And the last track is called The Best Kept Secret, a little bit drippy and dreary. It goes on far too long. Apart from the 2 singles on here, which are absolute classics, I think the rest of the songs are a little bit mediocre. They're nothing special. I think the Heaven 17 were one of these bands. Their singles were really good, and the tracks in between weren't as good. And they do still sound a little bit like early Human League, which is understandable. So that's what I think of it. So what did the critics? Now, there's not been much written about this album, but there was a retrospective review by AllMusic's critic Dan Leroy, who called The Luxury Grant one of the seminal albums of the British New Wave, highlighting its under-dreamed-of range of music, which showed just how warm electro-pop, usually chilly grooves could be. Yeah. He liked it, I think. So let's have a look what there are some ratings from the magazines, etc. AllMusic gave it a 4.5 star. Chris Grell's Record Game gave it a B+. Classic Pop 4 out of 5. Mojo 4 out of 5. Pop Matters 5 out of 10. Record Collector 4 out of 10. Record Mirror 4 out of 5. Rolling Stone 4 out of 5, and Smash Hits 8.5 out of 10. How did it do in the charts? Well, it got to number 4 here in the UK, 72 on the US Billboard, Number 7 in Germany, number 11 in New Zealand, and number 17 in Sweden. And I've top 50, number 53 in Australia. And it was got a platinum disc here in the UK. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of this one. Song quality. Apart from the 2 hits, the others are okay. They're not outstanding. There's nothing outstanding on this. It's a good pop album. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. Production. Excellent production. Very poppy, good sounds. You can't deny that. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Reception. When you've got a platinum album and number 4 hit in the UK, as long as you do it at home, that's the main thing. But to do it, get a top 10 in Europe, top 20 most places except Canada and Australia and America. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Cover design, I quite like this cover. I like the little sailing boat, you know, it's a nice sort of painting type thing. So I think they could have done a little bit more with Heaven 17, the luxury grab, because it just seems it's an afterthought. So I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. So for Heaven 17's the luxury grab gives us a total of 15 out of 20. So the next contender, again formed in Sheffield in 1980, were ABC. They evolved from another band called Vice Versa, and they're best known for that new wave and sophisticated pop blending synth pop with orchestral and jazz. The band achieved main success with their debut album. Fronted by Martin Fry, we had Stephen Singleton on saxophone, who was an excellent saxophone player, David Palmer on the drums. So their second album came out in 1983 in November, and it is Beauty Stab. So playing on here, we got Martin Fry at backing vocals and lead vocals, Mark White piano and synthesizers, Stephen Singleton on the alto sax. Additional personnel: Alan Spenner on bass guitar, Andy Newark on drums, who's actually, I think, drummed with Pink Floyd at some time, Louis Jardin on percussion, Howie Casey on baritone sax, David Theodore on oboe, and David Bedford who arranged the strings. David Bedford, of course, well known for working with Mike Oldfield. So the first track on here is That Was Them, But This Is Now. It's a quirky little track. I love the saxophone on it, and Martin Fry, I think, had a great vocal. It's a really good, strong sax track there. Love Is a Dangerous Language. It just lacks something. It just goes round in circles. I'm not a big fan of that. If You Ever Thought You'd Be Lonely, love the progression, the percussion on this saxophone sound. Like what a groovy bass line this is. Well impressed with that track. The Power of Persuasion, nice work on this again. Nice structure. It's short, but it's very structured. A super bass line as well. Then we get the title track, Beauty Stab. The drumming on this is fabulous. It's a nice sound. It's crisp. By Fault by Design, my favourite track from this album, in fact. The strings on it are really good, and you've got that real powerful Martin Fry vocal. Hey Citizen is the next track. This is really catchy, dominated by saxophones, and it's got that real full sort of orchestral feel, although it isn't. King Money, very funky. That bass line really drives that song along. By the Right, Bite the Hand. The strings are fabulous. When you got someone like David Bedford involved, you know you're going to get some really nice strings. That's super. Unzip, one of the best tracks on the album. It's got a lot of panache and vibrancy. United Kingdom, one of them songs that could have... I love the piano on it. It's just so quirky. It's another great track to end the album. I really like this album. I didn't heard much of it. It's definitely different from the debut Lexicon, which was a big hit. They changed the mood a bit. There's more guitar on this. The keyboards and saxophones are really more dominant. I do like this album. But what did the critics think? Well, upon its release, the album received negative reviews. Smash Hits reviewer Dave Rimmer wrote, "Depending how you look at it, the self-produced Beauty Stub is either a radical mixture of styles or a complete utter mess. But no way it is another classic pop collection like the Lexicon of Love," and deemed the album to an awkward sounding and not entirely enjoyable experience. But according to Bob Stanley of The Guardian, Beauty Stab was a drastic departure from the Lexicon Love, and it was their attempt to take on the preconceptions of their fan base. The strings were gone, replaced by some tough guitars. Yeah, there are strings on there. Sometimes like a low era of Bowie, or sometimes closer to Led Zeppelin, which I don't understand. This was them, but now it has appeared on several worst lyric polls. What people know. So what was the rating? So AllMusic gave it 3 out of 5. The Encyclopedia of Popular Music gave it a 3 out of 5. The Rolling Stone Album Guide gave it a 3 out of 5. Smash Hits gave it a 6 out of 10. Uncut, 3 out of 10. The Village Voice, a minus. How did it do in the charts? We got to number 12 in the UK, 69 in America, 58 in Australia, Finland 22, Japan 34. So let's have a look at the nuts and bolts of Beauty Stab. Song quality. Now I think the songs are much better there than on Lexicon Love. Lyric wise, they're more mature, so I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Production, beautifully produced. It's got a good sound to it, and I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. Reception, fans obviously didn't like it, nor did the critics. It was a top, but it did manage to get to number 12 in the album charts. It's always hard to follow up a successful debut, isn't it? So I'm going to give that a 3. Cover design. I like the cover. A lot of people don't like it because it's bullfighting, but it's well painted. So I'm going to give that a 5. So for Beauty Stab by ABC, gives us a total of 16. Out of the 2 albums, on one of these, just because it was their most successful album doesn't mean it's their best album, with Heaven 17. I just don't think some of them songs, apart from the 2 singles, was an absolute dynamite. The rest of the album's pretty mediocre. But with Beauty Stab, it's a more mature sound, and I love the textures on this. So I'm going to go with Beauty Stab today. Probably controversial, but there you go. Anyway, the poll is now open on posts, and we'll put it up in the poll on the live stream later today. And Dave will tell you who won it next week. So we got one more video today, and it is a big mix, and we're going to look at the top 10 singles in America back in 1961. So join me for that. Bye for now.